vanishing folklore and belief.
The Snake's Revenge from Korean Folktales, public domain reading, circa 1913. There lived in ancient days an archer whose home was near the west gate of Seoul. He was a man of great strength and famous for his valor. Watergate has a reference to a hole under the city wall, by which the waters of the Grand Canal find their exit. In it are iron pickets to prevent people's entering or departing by that way. On a certain afternoon, when this military officer was taking a walk, a massive snake was seen making its ways by means of the Watergate. The snake's massive head had already passed between the bars, but its body being larger could not get through, so there it was stuck and held fast. The soldier drew an arrow and, fitting it into the string, shot the snake in the head. Its head being fatally injured, the creature died. The archer then drew it out, pounded it into a pulp, and left it. A little time later, the man's wife conceived and bore him a son. From the first, the child was afraid of his father, and when it saw him, it used to cry and seem greatly frightened. As it grew, it started to hate the sight of its father more and more, and the man became very suspicious of this behavior. And so instead of loving his son, he grew to, unfortunately, dislike him. On a certain day, when there was just the two of them in the room, the officer lay down to have a midday rest, covering his face with his sleeve. But all the while, he was keeping his eye on the boy to see what he would do. The child glared at his father, and thinking him asleep, took a knife and made a thrust at him. However, the man jumped, grabbed the knife out of the boy's hand, and then with his club gave the boy a blow that left him dead on the spot. He pounded him into a pulp, left him, and went away. The mother, however, was in tears. She covered the little form with a quilt and prepared for its burial. In a little while, the quilt suddenly began to move, and she in alarm raised it to see what had happened, when lo! Beneath it, the child was gone, and instead there lay a massively huge, coiled snake instead. The mother jumped back in fear, left the room, and did not again enter. When evening came, the husband returned, and heard the dreadful story from his wife. He went in and looked, and now all had metamorphosed into a huge snake. On the head of it was the scar mark of the arrow that he had shot it with. He said to this familiar snake, "You and I were originally not enemies. I therefore did the wrong thing in shooting you as I did. But your intention to take revenge through becoming my son was a horrible deed. Such a thing as this is proof that my suspicions of you were right and just. You became my son in order to kill me, your father. Why? Why, therefore, should I not in my turn kill you? If you attempt it again, it will certainly end in my taking your life. You have already had your revenge, and have once more transmigrated into your original form. Let us drop the past, and be friends from now on. What do you say?" He repeated this over and urged his proposals, while the snake with bowed head seemed to listen intently. He then opened the door and said, "Now you may go as you please." The snake then departed, making straight for the Watergate, and passed out between the bars. It did not again appear.
vanishing folklore and belief.